Okay, so the topic I want to talk about is a feature of search that goes a bit beyond the just the pages and beyond the idea of information metadata, if you will, but also to beyond data altogether. And I just as a casual comment, as you might know, this is someone I'm in a battle with. This is the reason is Goldberg. He's Bill Goldberg, and he comes up first when you search Goldberg, and he's winning. So I'm working on it. And I have a little. This is just very sort of a background. I've done some work in collaborative filtering, and we've been very interested. We have a site that does collaborative filtering for jokes, recommending jokes to individuals, and we have a method. And if there's time, I'll be happy to talk a little more about this. But what I want to talk about is the real world, the physical world, and it's increasingly an important subject because there's so much interest now in the environment and global warming, et cetera. One of the people who've been studying this for a long time, of course, are the biologists, the natural scientists. And they go out and they look at nature, and they try and study trends and detailed behavior. And the problem is when they go out there, they're searching for some kind of phenomena in the physical world, and it's very difficult. They have to sit out in long, often dangerous spots, and they have to wait for something to happen. And of course, their own presence interferes with the very thing they're trying to observe. So I think that an interesting direction is to apply technology, of course, as an engineer. And I think that what we can do is we can apply techniques that involve not just single observations, but multiple kinds of observers. And and there's a number of people who are thinking along similar lines, and you've heard some of these efforts that are out here, in particular Neon, Genie, Neptune, that are interested in looking at environmental phenomena. And of course, the other aspect of this is robots. I think that I'm not talking about web crawling robots. I'm talking about the real kind, or sort of real. And we've had several people from Microsoft here, and Bill Gates came out a few months ago and basically said that robots are where personal computers were in 1975, which is a very interesting thing for him to say. Basically, that it's still it's still much in the hobbyist stage, but it's poised. In other words, that he sees that there's potential now for some things to rapidly change, and people don't know exactly what they're going to be used for, but there seems to be a similar kind of opportunity. So what we're interested in is the idea of applying all kinds of mechanisms, robotic mechanisms, sensing mechanisms, and the web into investigating and searching for phenomena in the physical world. So we have an NSF project, and this is joint with Des Song, who's at Texas A&M, to investigate, to look at animals in particular in nature. And we've been looking at something called at this particular case study of the ivory-billed woodpecker. And how many of you know about this situation? Okay, it's a fascinating story, and I won't have time to go into it, but it's basically considered the holy grail of bird watching. And I mean that literally. I mean, people dream about this bird and talk about it all the time, and it's a big search because the bird hasn't been definitively sighted since 1944. And it's kind of like a lot of these other searches, the black orchid, the Loch Ness monster. And a little bit like the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. In other words, there's something out there, but it's very rare and very hard to find. And of course, sometimes these things do yield results. So last year, we saw that the giant squid of lore was actually spotted by a group of Japanese researchers. Now, birds are particularly interesting because there's a huge population of people interested in them, and they're out there searching all the time. And this particular individual spotted this bird, the ivory-billed woodpecker, about 3 years ago, and it launched a huge, massive search. And it resulted in a paper in Science magazine claiming that they had sufficient evidence by a Cornell team. The problem is their evidence, and I won't have time to show you all this, but their evidence is very marginal. It's a few pixels of a video that's been analyzed over and over again. And this particular guy has said, no, this is not acceptable. And he's a huge critic of the group. So we approached them with this NSF grant and said, can we help you? We're interested in building robotic systems. So to make a long story short, we went down there, and we're working now with the team. We set up this robotic system that is out there to do search. And the idea is that there's 2 high-resolution video cameras that are online 12 hours a day, watching the sky. And they're recording data. We don't have a network connection there yet. And so the idea is that they're recording, and we're taking in data, and we're on the fly, we're processing it to throw away anything that doesn't contain a potential bird. So we have to do image processing on the fly and we have to do statistical background subtraction and then record anything that looks like it might be a bird. So the interesting thing is that we have found some birds. This is one of the earliest pictures we got. I was very excited because I thought we've seen a pterodactyl, but Yeah. This is a blue heron. Now, the researchers say that if we did have a moment of seeing the ivory bill, this would be definitive. And here's another example. This was just one morning, early in the morning. We caught a red-tailed hawk, and if you look at this again, it's a very high resolution. We just got the light just right, and they said this would be the $1 million photograph they've been waiting for. So we're waiting and watching, and we're recording the data, and the next thing we're doing is setting up a network over the summer. In the meantime, one thing we're also interested in is this idea of sociable media that Marty and Andrew and Matt and Andre have talked about today. And we're very interested in this. So we have a test case where we've set up a camera on a website in a location that's closer in. We're not going to see the ivory bill here, but this is a part of San Francisco, and we have Craig from Craigslist who's agreed to put this on his house. So we have a site, and people can go in and manipulate a shared camera, and I can talk more about that, but it's a robotic camera where you can pan, tilt, and zoom in. And people are taking pictures of birds. Now, the whole issue of incentive has been talked about a lot here, and our idea is to turn this into a game. So we call it a massively multiplayer online game. And you don't get points by killing the birds. You get points by taking pictures of birds and then classifying them. So when you snap a picture and then you classify it, and we use something like von On's idea of where you have to have 3 consistent classifications in order for it to count. And we're finding it's an amazing thing. So this thing was launched about a week ago, 10 days ago, and it already has 2,600 active members. And this is an example of a photo that's been taken. The odds of catching a hummingbird in that space is very rare, but we now have 26 pictures of hummingbirds on there. Okay, so just in terms of challenges and prospects, what I'm very excited about is this idea of community or social tagging and information. I think that one thing we could emphasize more is games and competition. So as von On has put very effectively, human computation. We have a lot of people out there playing solitaire. If we can harness them into doing something else, like tagging images or actually watching for something interesting going on in nature, it could be very effective. And I think that at the same time, there's a learning that goes on. At least for me, when I know very little about birds, but in the course of playing this, I'm starting to learn a little bit about what a blue jay looks like. Okay, so that's all I want to say, and I want to now open things up to questions for the panel. Thank you.